Today, we're diving deep into the mind of a thinker who totally changed how we look at ourselves, the one and only Carl Jung.
So let me ask you something. Have you ever taken a personality test? You know, like the Myers-Briggs or one of those online quizzes that tells you if you're an introvert or an extrovert?
Well, if you have, you've already had a run-in with the work of Carl Jung. His ideas are pretty much the blueprint for a lot of those tests. But honestly, that is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to his influence. To really get Jung, we have to start with his famous mentor and, well, eventual rival, Sigmund Freud. Their whole relationship and the massive fallout is what set Jung on a path to create a whole new field of psychology. See, in the beginning, they were super close. Freud basically saw Jung as his successor, the crown prince who would carry the torch for psychoanalysis. But that didn't last. By around 1913, it was all over. And this wasn't just two friends falling out. It was a deep, fundamental disagreement about what makes us tick. That break forced Jung to go his own way, and he created what he called analytical psychology. So what was the big disagreement? It really boils down to this. For Freud, pretty much everything came back to repressed sexual drives. That was the main engine of human behavior. But Jung thought that was way too narrow. He was convinced we're driven by much bigger, broader things, like our search for meaning, our spiritual urges, and these deep, ancient cultural patterns. And that belief in those broader forces, it led Jung to his most radical and probably his most famous idea, the concept of a hidden map inside every single one of us. He called it the collective unconscious. So, what on earth is that? Jung proposed that underneath our own personal memories and baggage, there's a deeper layer that we all share as a species. He described it as a kind of psychic inheritance, a vast reservoir of universal symbols and themes that we're all born with, no matter where or when we live. This is a great way to think about it. The personal unconscious is like your own private hard drive. It's where you store your forgotten memories, your unique experiences, the stuff you've pushed down. The collective unconscious, though, that's more like humanity's shared cloud server. It's universal, and it holds all the myths, symbols, and ancestral memories of our entire species. Okay, so if the collective unconscious is this giant shared library of the human experience, what's on the shelves? Well, according to Jung, it's populated by a cast of universal characters he called archetypes. Think of archetypes as the original character templates hardwired into our brains. There are these universal patterns for people and situations that we all just instinctively recognize. It's the reason why myths and movies from completely different cultures can feel so familiar. They're all tapping into these same deep-seated patterns that are already inside us. Take, for example, the hero. Luke Skywalker, Harry Potter, Wonder Woman. This is that core pattern of someone who overcomes insane obstacles, faces down darkness, and is changed by the journey. We see the story again and again because it's a fundamental part of our shared human narrative. Then you've got the shadow. This is the archetype for all the parts of ourselves that we don't want to admit exist. The dark side, the repressed instincts, the stuff we're ashamed of. It's the Darth Vader to the Luke Skywalker. And for Jung, you couldn't be a whole person without turning around and facing your own shadow. And then there's the anima and animus, which is fascinating. Jung believed that everyone has an inner psychological opposite, a feminine energy within men, the anima, and a masculine energy within women, the animus. These archetypes really influence who we're attracted to and our own journey toward internal balance. Okay, so we have this collective unconscious that's filled with all these archetypes. But so what? Why does any of this matter in our day-to-day lives? For Jung, this was everything. Understanding these inner forces was the absolute key to personal growth. He called the whole point of life individuation. It's this lifelong journey of integrating all the different parts of yourself, your conscious mind and your unconscious, your light and your shadow. And the goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is just to become whole. And to help us figure ourselves out, Jung identified these 4 basic ways we experience the world: thinking, feeling, sensation, and intuition. He said we all tend to prefer some over others, and figuring out your own unique mix is a giant leap towards self-awareness. And yes, if that sounds familiar, it should. This is the exact foundation for tests like the Myers-Briggs. This quote right here really sums up his whole approach. You see, for Jung, psychology wasn't just about fixing what was wrong. It was about creating harmony, a balance between our logical mind, our emotional intelligence, and that deeper search for meaning or spiritual insight. So, fast forward to today. Where do all of Jung's ideas leave us? Well, his work definitely did not stay locked away in academic circles. It has echoed out into the world, shaping our culture in ways we probably don't even notice. I mean, his influence is just massive. It goes way beyond psychotherapy. It's in philosophy, in the way we analyze books and art. Every time you hear someone talk about the hero's journey in a movie, that's pure Jung. His concepts are also all over modern spirituality and pop culture, from self-help books to blockbuster films. Maybe his greatest legacy is just this. Carl Jung built a bridge. He connected the scientific, clinical world of psychology with that deeply personal, almost spiritual human quest for purpose. He showed us that those two things don't have to be separate. In fact, they're part of the same journey.
And that brings us to the end. As we've seen, Jung gave us this incredible new map of the human soul. So I'll leave you with this to think about. As you look at your own life, your own story, which archetype do you think is playing the starring role for you right now?